Yes. Bring it in, bring it in, bring it in. You already know what time it is. I'm your host, Khristian Dentley, and this is the good stuff, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, I say it all the time. Today is especially delicious, and I really, really mean it every single time I say it, but today is for real especially delicious because my brother is rejoining me on this podcast. Of course, you can see we changed the things a little bit. We got the, you can now call it the Good Stuff Podcast. Got a new color, new look. Certain things are always going to be, consistent. Yeah, boy. But anyway, another thing that's always consistent is we always have guests that are extremely well versed in their area of expertise, and they have something to impart into you, the listeners, and to me. Even when I'm doing these interviews, I'm learning so much. And back by popular demand is my good brother from the group Take Six. He is literally the guy that's right above me. Ladies and gentlemen, the incredible divorce recovery coach, the incredible author, singer, father, all of the things. And this is how I got in trouble the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, Joey Kibble is rejoining me. On the good stuff. What's going on, brother?
How you feeling?
Man,
I finally made it to the good stuff.
Brother,
you don't know how many years I've been trying to get to the good stuff.
to get to the,
and could not get there. And then suddenly one day, I'm at the good stuff.
That's how it happens, man. That's how it happens. Dude, first of all, thank you so much, man, for making time again for your brother, man. I really, really appreciate it. Even like the first conversation that we had, and I encourage people to go back and watch that first episode, the first time we had you on. I think there were 2 episodes that came out of that where you were talking about really divorce recovery and like the different stages that you had gone through to get to the other side of grieving that and rebounding and all. It was beautiful. And I encourage people, go and watch that. Go look at, go to the Good Stuff Podcast on YouTube, rewatch those so that you can know exactly who you're dealing with right here with Joe Kibble. Cause there's really good stuff in there. I mean, just such good stuff. But this one, man, with us changing the name and the format of this podcast to the Good Stuff, the reason why we're calling it this is because there's a lot of stuff that goes on in our lives, bro, that literally while you're going through it does not look like the good stuff. But when you investigate, somebody recently I had a conversation with, there was like, it's not that the devil's in the details, God is in the details. Because when you look closely, even at the things that look like tragic situations, there's some good stuff in there. And so that's why I wanted to bring you back, because there's a specific area that I want to talk to you about that you would encourage our listeners and our viewers and subscribers. And that is in this. It's basically where can we find the good stuff in detours and setbacks? Sometimes we align ourselves and to set out to do things, and for whatever reason they come to absolutely nothing and they fall dead in front of our face. We lose confidence in ourselves. We lose hope in what the promise is. But if we stick with it long enough, we'll find the good stuff in there. So that's really what I want to talk to you about on this episode, man. So let's
have you had an experience like that? Like, you talk as though
brother,
you have,
man,
experience in that. I mean,
man. Yes, yeah. The answer is yes.
Okay, all right.
The end.
Right. Yeah, I mean, because the listeners are hanging on like, what is he talking about?
No, but literally, I mean, like, even going back to even our first conversation, when we had you on the first time, when we were talking about, divorce, like finding the good stuff in there. I remember, I will never forget having a conversation with you, bro. When I was dealing with making the decision to end my first marriage and move forward in my life without my ex-wife, but the contemplation was, man, God hates divorce and we don't ever, and I'm wrestling with this thing, but at the same time, this is not what God intended for marriage to be, and all the kind of stuff, man. And I will never forget a conversation that I had with you, and you talked to me specifically about God not co-signing dysfunction. And that was something that freed me and really allowed me to continue to find God, or to find the good stuff, even in the ending of that relationship. And now fast forward, we're going on 8 years with Adrian, married, and dude, like literally the things that I learned, I could have been holding on to something that would have been to the detriment, not only to me, but even to, to her, to Christian Michael, that's growing and seeing what this looks like in real time. Maybe him picturing that, okay, this is what marriage is what it's supposed to be, or this level of dysfunction. Or you can search to find God even in the separation, even in the divorce, or even in the failed job, or the failed business, or any of those kinds of things, the failed relationship. And it doesn't have to be husband and wife. So that's me finding, you helped me find that good stuff, bro. So what about you, man?
As you're talking about it, I think about the ministry of no. We always want a yes from God. We always want him to say, move forward, go forth, conquer. But what about when he says no? What about when he says, turn left, or he just says, wait? And we're not so acquainted with that. And the idea that comes to mind, we've stayed in a whole lot of hotels. And in those hotels, as you're going to your room, as the two of us have gone to our separate rooms, you pass fire doors. And if you understand what fire doors are no's. They are, if those fire doors, they're designed to withstand intense heat and to seal off a whole section of somewhere that you don't want to go. If we ever get into a situation where they have to close those fire doors, there is something on the front side or the back side that is going to consume you. And we don't argue with the fire door. You know what I'm saying? Most times they got the fire doors set in the wall. You don't even notice that it's a door. But if a fire breaks out and it's on one section of the hallway, your protection that gets you enough time to get out of the building is in those fire doors and how they close and how they seal. And so that fire door, we always think of doorways and stuff is things, corridors that you can walk through. This is specifically to close and to shut out what would consume you if you were to keep going. And so when you sit there and you talk about delays, and you talk about detours, and you talk about no's, and you talk about shutdowns, and when you talk about stops, we don't really consider these part of that whole journey because we're always thinking about going through. But man, if you think about the time that a door was shut in your life, and he doesn't sit down many times to explain to you what was on the other side and what you were avoiding. But I guess when you get to be our age and you have barreled through something that was supposed to be shut.
Yes, sir.
And you caught what was on the other side of it and then realized I didn't want this. You get the ministry of that fire door, of that closed door. The closed doors are just as important as the open doors. You don't know what it is that's being kept from you that would shut down your mission or shut down your assignment or shut down you walking into your destiny. You have no idea what kinds of things like God does because he sees the entire perspective.
Yes, sir.
He sees the whole thing in front of you. We used to play video games where you would follow through in a maze and there'd be something that was coming to attack you and it's coming through the maze to get you, but then a door closed and stopped its progression.
Yeah.
And we were thankful for that door. We wasn't trying to bust that door down. But look at us trying to bust down the doors or have an attitude or catch an attitude with God because of something that didn't work out. And so here's what it really speaks to. And I'll let you speak to it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But what about those things that, because we're humans, we have mapped out a course for our lives that we think would bring us to success. God, who is like the entire satellite, he sees the entire graph. He sees the whole perspective from beginning to end. He knows exactly which way he wants to take you.
Yeah.
But we don't have that perspective. And so we map out our lives according to our senses. What makes sense to me? What makes the best sense? I want to get from A to B the fastest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have no idea. We've flown a lot of planes. You have no idea why you're sitting on the runway for a couple of hours before you take because our minds are, I want to get to the next destination, get to my hotel. I want to chill. But you have no idea. You've been on enough flights. We've been both on enough flights where some little switch wasn't working the way it was supposed to work. And because of it, we are now sitting on the tarmac for 2 hours before they take us back to the jetway
Right.
because one little switch won't work. Now, that doesn't seem deep to me. Okay, it's one little switch. Don't turn it on then. Just get me to where I'm going because I'm so focused on where I'm going. And then you get up into the air.
Oh, my God.
Situations where they have done post-autopsies on these plane crashes to find out it was one little switch. It was one little screw that popped out. It was one little panel that suddenly caused the detriment of the entire flight. It started a chain reaction that suddenly an entire panel blew out and the plane has now lost pressure and they crashed. But if they back it all up, it's always one or two little things. And so how many times have we sat on the tarmac waiting because some little switch wasn't responding the way it was supposed to, or some flap wasn't going down quick enough. And we're thinking, oh, you're wasting my time. But when you look at it from the scope of the crashed plane,
yes, sir.
If you could see that and then realize, oh man, look, let me sit here for another couple of hours. Because what is that versus the end of my life? Like now you appreciate closed doors. Well, here you appreciate a closed door on the plane. Well, we're flying on a plane and people who are challenged thinking about going for the plane and opening up the door. That closed door is a blessing.
That's right.
It keeps everything pressurized. It keeps us on the flight until we land. You've heard enough stories where somebody suddenly, I want to get off. And suddenly they go and open the escape door. And suddenly everything is thrown off. Everybody's life is in danger. We don't think enough times about the closed doors in our lives and what has kept us from.
I'm going to be honest, bro. One of the reasons why I would not naturally appreciate closed doors is honestly because of what I was taught when I was growing up, even in church, name it, claim it. That was this whole big thing. Some people say blab it, grab it, we name it, claim it, blab it and grab it, it's like, right. Whatsoever things, you believe when you pray, whatsoever things you desire when you pray, believe you receive them and you shall have them. Yeah, that is a scripture in the Bible. And I did not take inventory of the sovereignty of God. I didn't take inventory of the fact that he is still my father and I'm still his son. Just like Christian Michael, there are certain things that I have to keep from him to protect him from not being prepared to handle that or something that he just doesn't need to touch, period. And I appreciate and understand it as a father from that perspective. But when it comes to God, honestly, I'm a brat. I'm a brat, bro. Because again, it's funny how the different shapes that our prayers take. It's like first, Lord God, if it be your will, Lord, let me have this job in Jesus' name. I pray, amen. Right. And then they don't call you back, and it's like, now wait a minute, Lord, now, devil, devil, you take your hands off that boss's hands that's going to try to call my cell phone. You know, I was gonna. It goes, and then they don't call you further. Now we need to go in fasting and prayer. Because wait a minute, if I believe that I receive it, I shall. That word "shall" means shall, huh? Oh my God, you know,
right. Bro, but we never think about what if you got the job, you got more money than you expected, but it cost you your family. Jeez. It cost you in some other way. They call that opportunity cost. When it looks like whatever I want, it's like, you know, it's more valuable. But you have to consider the cost of other options that you could have taken instead of that one, that opportunity cost you. And so here's the thing, and I said this, we were talking about this in a group meeting one time. I know that I said I do not want success at whatever cost. I want success. I don't want it at whatever cost. I'm not willing to wager my family.
Word.
I'm not willing to wager my life. Like, I don't want it at whatever cost. You know, I want the whole kit and caboodle. You know what I'm saying? I want the character to be able to handle the success that I'm asking for. But I also want peace of mind. I don't want to be wealthy with no peace of mind. You know what I'm saying? And so what if you lose the opportunity for the job that you thought was the very perfect job for me? You have no idea the boss that you be working under. You have no idea if the company abuses its employees.
Right.
And so watch this. What if God sees that and he says no? It's like, can we actually sit back and say, you know what? I don't understand why you shut that down. Here's an example. So I was out in the yard. We were doing some yard work. Carly was a little girl. She was about 3, 4, and she's playing right where I'm trying to do some gardening. And we had a problem with hornets that live in the ground.
Ooh.
So the hornets that live in the ground hornets. And I saw just maybe 2 feet behind her, I saw the hornets going into the ground and coming back up, going into the ground, coming back up. And she was just sitting there playing with the flowers. She had no earthly idea. And I'm like, Carly, get up and walk to me, please. She didn't understand. All she knows is that you stopping my joy right now. I was just about to plant this thing, but you did. But I could see behind her that if she backs up, in fact, she didn't even have to back up anymore. Those kind of hornets, they come at you. They not only sting you, but they spray you with a pheromone, mark you with a pheromone that tells the entire hive to target you. And so all she had to do, and now watch this. That's because just a few months earlier, I had gotten stung while I was cutting the grass. And the thing hit me 3 times. Somehow they knew it was the same hornet. I rolled over the nest, and that thing hit me 2 or 3 times, sent me to the hospital. Like I swelled up like a donkey. I truly resembled a live walking donkey. But watch this.
My God.
She didn't have to get hit because I'd already been there. And that's the word for somebody. God has already seen this and he's already been there. He already understands. So when he tells you no, it's a solid and legitimate no. And sometimes he does not choose to explain it to you. If I would sit there and explain to her what's going on just a foot away from her, it wasn't going to benefit her. All she needs to know is you need to walk away. All you need to know is you don't need to press forward. It's not going to benefit you to hear an explanation so that you can then decide that you're going to follow what I'm going to say. Right. You need to move right now. I need to close this door right now, and I'm not going to give you an explanation. But we're not thinking about We're not thinking about the curse that's under the ground that you're about to step on. We're not thinking about how big the nest is underground. All she's thinking about is, I don't get to finish planting my flowers. And sometimes that's how we are about life. Like we call him sovereign, but when he starts moving according to his sovereignty, I don't like that, because you stop me from doing. That is the ministry of no. That's the ministry of the closed door. That's the ministry of the failed business proposition. Like, you have no idea what it is that I'm sparing you from. But all I don't need you to understand right now what I'm doing. What I need you to do is trust what I'm doing. Whether he decides to explain it later, and here's the good thing about God. He's given me enough situations where he has shown me down the line. Whoo, God, thank you for taking that out of my hands. Man, thank you for not letting me get that car that I wanted.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah. I wanted a Tesla. But I didn't know what was happening, what was coming down the line.
Word.
How much that was drop in value. But you couldn't tell me when I wanted to get it. But
God said that if y'all two of you shall touch it concerning anything, come on, Christian, pray with me in the name of Father. The Tesla shall be mine.
And hey, maybe at some point they will regain all of their value, but at that moment it was like, oh man, were you looking out for me?
And you look back, and you see that the Bible says in Romans chapter 8, verse number 28, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love the Lord and them that are called according to his purpose. It's that, for me, it's that his purpose part. Because it's real easy for me to jumble those lines. Am I doing this? Am I making this move? Am I making this call for my purpose or for his purpose? Yeah. The Bible talks about a double-minded man that's unstable in all of his ways. He said, you have not. That's the part. You have not because you ask not. Mm-hmm. And then when you ask, you don't have because you ask amiss. Mm-hmm. You ask to consume it upon your own lust and your own desires. And so what I'm learning is that I have to submit my own desires to God's will. And to his purpose, because his purpose for this relationship might not be my purpose for this relationship.
That's right.
His purpose for bringing me into contact and communication with this purpose might be totally different than my understanding.
Right.
I remember.
And usually, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I love this.
No, I'm saying, and just as he says, my thoughts are higher than your thoughts. My ways are much more elevated than your ways. So here's the thing. If it's a good thing that you're asking me for, I wanted it for you anyway. But really, I want to do exceeding abundantly beyond what you were thinking when you asked for it. Mm-hmm. How about I want you to be out of debt too? But how about I want your whole community to be out of debt? Mm-hmm. Not just you. So what if the asking amiss is you didn't ask big enough? Wow. You're only asking for yourself. And I'm trying to free up not just you, I'm trying to free up your whole community. How about I'm not trying to just walk you through divorce. I'm trying to walk all these people who have gotten stuck in the margins of divorce. So I want what I want for you. But it's beyond you. It's bigger than you. I want freedom for all of these people who have been stigmatized by having to have gone through divorce. I want to deliver them too. So if you let me do it the way I want to do it, I will deliver them, which includes your delivery, which includes your blessing. Sometimes that's what amiss means. You just want to expend it on yourself.
Right.
But I want to bless you so that it's expended on many different people, and they're all blessed, including you. How come you don't look at it that way? You know what I'm saying? And so I just, the trust that you have to have for God especially when he tells you no and wait. I don't want you. No, I don't want you to do anything. I want you to wait.
Oh, Joey, this is so good.
And not put your hands on it, not manipulate it, not change it, not try to do something. What if I just... So he knows how he created our minds.
Right.
He knows that our minds are always active and it's always got to do something. So he adds to it, be still and know. Because I know you can't just be still. I know how I created you. I know you want to get into everything. You want to get everything moving. But be still and then know that I am God. Because if you're just sitting there and stillness, you're just sitting duck.
Right.
Already you starting to think about, how can I get out of this? What can I do? Let me start adjusting this. Maybe God needs my help. Maybe I need to get... Maybe God needs help for me to try to get my wife pregnant. We're talking about Abraham and Sarah. They added to it, like he was waiting for them to turn 100. But you can't tell Abraham that or Sarah that while they're going through. He ordained for them to turn 100 before they have this child. But now, because they just can't wait, now they're trying to make stuff happen. Now I'm trying to augment. Now I'm trying to help God. And then you end up with Hagar because I felt like I had to help God. I couldn't just be here and wait for the right time, because we're so, and I keep coming back to this, we are human beings that we are so intoxicated with our own plan, but we're so narrow-minded that even if he gave you what you wanted, in your mind, somehow your selfishness would destroy it.
Yeah.
Or you wouldn't be ready for it. He wants to give you, if it's good for you, he wants to give it to you. But he's got a way of giving it to you. You have kids. You know good and well that the first time your son said, I want the PlayStation, I want the Genesis, I want something, you had already made up in your mind that you were going to get it for him.
That's true. That's right.
But it wasn't the right time. You wanted to make sure that he had the character to appreciate the big blessing that you gave him. And so it was required for him to wait. It was already on the way. But see, if he ever... Now, I know he didn't do it. I know Christian Michael didn't do this. But if he started acting a fool...
Oh, no.
While in the waiting period, it almost showed. And see, that's why I held it off. Because if I give it to you in this state that you're in right now, it's going to destroy you.
Woo.
Because you don't have the discipline to be able to match up with the privilege. Big privilege I'm giving you. But your character cannot handle the privilege that you're asking for. Watch this. I believe he wants it for you. But he needs the time to build up your character so you can handle the big blessing that he's giving to you. And so you have to wait. And so it's no. Or so it's part yourself from this partner or this. Now, and I'm talking about business partner.
Business partner.
Part yourself from this, because if I give it to you now, it's going to destroy you.
Yeah.
We don't know how God thinks. It's like...
And we got the scripture that his ways are higher than ours, and all. Yeah, we kind of tuck those. I feel like we tuck those away.
We do.
The Bible talks about how all of these things, these stories, were written for our example. And I'm thinking about the children of Israel that wanted it when they wanted a king.
Yeah,
God is like, yo, let me be that. Let me be everything that you need. I got you. Like, nah, man, but look at over there. The Amorites got a king, and the Hittites and we don't ever want to be in a situation where and you don't answer too quick sometimes. And you know what? Fine. I'm going to give you exactly what you asked for, but I'm going to tell you in fact, he was like, look, if you get a king, he's going to multiply himself, wives into himself. He's going to sing people to water. Yeah, okay. We can handle that.
And Saul was the answer to that very mindset. Jesus, and think about how Saul ended. he exposed the entire nation to the power of a witch. Because he was willing so much to do what he wanted. If God didn't sign off on it, he would go to a witch to then look for this thing to happen. The people didn't know that. God knew that. Can you think about the fact that many of the times that they were in battle with God as their king, they didn't have to fight. All you had to do was show up to the battlefield, but the people were being stung by hornets. The people were being
ground hornets,
thrown by
hail,
lightning. You didn't even have to fight because it was about me. But now you want a situation that looks like this. Now you're putting it. Now you're getting killed off. Now you're subject to his whims, and he's going to put your lives in danger. I would have never done that, but that's what you asked for. We just don't know. We don't know, man.
Many of us are eating the fruit of a no that we overrode.
Say it again.
Many of us are eating the fruit of a no that we overrode. We wanted it so bad.
Yep.
We thought we were. I wanted so bad, and you thought you were going to be able to handle that bitter aftertaste. But ain't no Listerine in the world.
I'll give you an example. I wanted to have a ministry that I could really sink my teeth into. Because there were a lot of coaches in my coaching program, and they all had their ministry, and they all had their thing, and they were taking off, and they were, and I wanted to take off at the same time they were taking off. They were hitting social media. They were getting all these likes, and they're getting all this attention. I'm like, God, why is it taking me so long? Whatever. And he had a specific assignment for me. Mm-hmm. But for my assignment, it required me to wait. Now, look, the coaching program has been over for 3 years. Those people are taken off. Only now is it time for my plane to taxi out to the runway and then take off. It was unbearable because I was comparing myself to them, comparing my takeoff with them, comparing my mission to them, comparing my impact to them. God had already determined that he wanted me to have this ministry, but I needed to wait. I can't tell you why I need to wait. But the moment it was time for takeoff, I remember being so overwhelmed, like, what have I gotten myself into? There are so many hurt people. Like, I wasn't thinking about this when I was comparing my ministry with their ministry. I wasn't thinking about the responsibility. I wasn't thinking about how every time somebody tells me their story, it takes me back to that traumatic place in my life. Like, I wasn't thinking about all of that. I was just trying to get my plane to take off like everybody else's plane. And he was waiting specifically to make sure that I was ready on the inside to do what he wanted me to do, because he knew that the assignment was way more than me. And he knew I would be overwhelmed. And in that moment, I remember feeling, thank God this is his will and not my will. Because I know I'd be way in over my head. Thank God it's his will, because if it's his will, he'll make sure that I'm ready to proceed. But if I push this thing and make this thing happen, oh my goodness, I am in way over my head. And I thought I wanted this thing. Like, I thought I wanted it at any cost. The guy's like, no. That's why I had you wait. He waited. He had Moses wait for 7 days before Moses could come into his presence. Now, he was already up in the mountain, but nothing happened for 7 days. And then God called him into his presence. And you sitting there thinking, well, how come I can't? You got me up here waiting. How can I come into your presence? You don't know what presence you coming into. You don't know the mission that I have. So take the time and wait. I'm preparing and sanctifying you to step into this greater place, because you don't know what it takes.
You don't know what it takes. Because whatever sources a thing has to sustain it.
Okay.
If you source it, then it's on you to sustain it.
Woo! Right.
If you do this in your own strength, then it's going to take your own strength to keep this thing moving.